some elections, some midterm cycles have sort of like a narrative, like a thing that they tend to be about. And I was thinking about this when you talked about how you want to focus on healthcare. There have been past cycles when Democrats did talk a lot about healthcare. I feel like I haven't really heard that in some time. And we all know that Donald Trump is already wildly unpopular. By the midterms, he'll be even more wildly unpopular. And there's this big national conversation going on about what Democrats and Democrat leadership should be doing right now. Some people are saying, stick your head in the sand, don't do anything. Some are saying you should stand up and fight. Do you, as a candidate in your state focused race, is that something that you're particularly concerned about? Do you think that it's important that there is sort of an overarching narrative that the Democrats nail it at the national level? Or are you right now you're focusing on your race and not particularly concerned about that?
Before I was a candidate in this race, I was watching as the Democratic Party responded to the devastating loss in the 2024 election. And I was dismayed, like so many other people, that we seemed so lost. And we need to find our way if we're gonna start actually winning elections so that we can start delivering for the American people. One of the reasons I decided to run is because I feel like I'm the kind of candidate who can help the party find its way back to our base, to where we come from, to what we fight for. We can't just talk about we're anti-Trump, we're anti-Lindsey Graham. We have to tell voters what we will fight for. And one of the issues that touches every single voter is healthcare. Whether you have a child with a chronic illness, whether you have an unexpected emergency surgery, or you get in a car accident and you have to go to the trauma center, healthcare touches everyone. And I know that the Democratic Party has the policies that will lower healthcare costs, whether it's prescription drug costs or making primary care affordable and accessible for everyone in this country. We just have to be confident in our messaging, and we have to meet people where they are. We have the right policy solutions. We just don't know how to talk to people like regular people. So I see myself as a very different kind of candidate. I didn't come out of some think tank in Washington, D.C. I try to ignore my consultants as often as I can and stay true to who I am and the reasons that I'm running.
So really fast, Michael, just to follow up on that particular issue. So you talked about costs and things like that, and I definitely agree with that. And you talked about wanting to protect Medicaid, but is it time for Democrats, which previously at least some had, to start talking about like an expansion of something, like a public option, like about universal health care, like a big ticket policy to organize a campaign or a cycle around? What is your stance on those sorts of approaches?
Yes, yes, and yes. And one of the issues I hope to have a lot of time to talk about, because again, we need to start like thinking forward instead of playing defense all the time. We have to start talking about what could be possible if we start winning elections. What about a federalized healthcare program for children? We insure Americans over the age of 65 with the Medicare program, which I am fully in support of. We should have a public option for those who want it. But what if we provided affordable healthcare to every American under the age of 18? Then we would have a healthier workforce that could contribute to our tax base, and their healthcare would be less expensive while they're in the workforce and when they're retired. We just need to start thinking about things differently. We need to open our minds to what is possible if we get out of this defensive posture. And if you start talking about these things that would truly change people's lives, they're gonna start listening in a way that they haven't listened to politicians in the past.
Sorry, Michael, I cut you off earlier. Feel free.
Yeah, no, you didn't cut me off at all. We'll talk about it later. The whole idea of running for Senate against Lindsey Graham and listening to what you were just saying, I think that John and I and a lot of people who watch this show would agree that don't lose sight of making this about Lindsey Graham either. I mean, there is something to be said for doing all these positive things and having the change and everything. But there's some elections that are about the opponent too, and he's a prime candidate for that. And so I wonder how that balance is struck. And then I also want to ask, and the reality is it doesn't make it impossible, but a Democrat has not won statewide, and I may be wrong, in South Carolina since 2006. And I've gone down there and covered some pretty optimistic candidates. Jim Clyburn's the only statewide Democrat in Washington. What is it about you? And I see the optimism and I see the seriousness and I also see the humor, which I love. But what is it about you that thinks that you can break that cycle? And what are you going to employ to do that?
So I feel like I'm in this sweet spot where I'm running against a national villain who should be blamed for everything that is coming out of this chaotic Trump administration. Lindsey Graham is a national villain, which will bring national eyes and national donors interested in my campaign. But at the same time, I've also become a national figure as a child advocate, as a gun violence prevention advocate, as a vocal person on social media. So we really have the best of both worlds. I have an existing national platform and I'm running against a national villain. So I'm confident we can raise the resources and get the eyes on this race that we need to run as competitively as we can. You're right, Democrats haven't won statewide in a very, very long time in South Carolina, but they have in North Carolina and they have in Georgia, and there's no reason that South Carolina should be left out of that story. But if we fail to put a competitive, compelling candidate in this race in the general election in 2026, when Lindsey Graham is as vulnerable as he's gonna be, then we might as well close up shop as a state Democratic Party. This is our opportunity to reset. If I fundraised in the way that I think that I'm able to, I plan to invest some of the money I raise into continuing to build the state party after the 2026 election cycle, because I'm invested in the future of South Carolina. Because like I said, I have 3 kids who are in the public school system here. I love this state, I love my community, and this is far more than about me in 2026 and Lindsey Graham. This is about resetting what the Democratic Party stands for in South Carolina for election cycles in the future.
John, I just want to say this is your chance too, before the end of the interview, to ask a pediatric question. John has a toddler, so one free question I'm sure she'll take.
Right.
She's doing pretty well so far.
Good. All right.
They're coming in, and no, I don't really have anything specific, but thank you. I do want to ask you a somewhat tangential question to end things. The most important thing is your race against Lindsey Graham, but you were talking about villains, and he's the national villain. I want to talk about a henchman for the villains. You did previously challenge Nancy Mace. What are you thinking of Nancy Mace these days? She's been a busy little person the last year or so. What do you make of her?
She sure has. I'm hoping one of the downstream effects of me running for the Senate against Lindsey Graham is people will stop associating me with Nancy Mace, because she is arguably the country's most embarrassing congresswoman. Some people have credited me in my race against her with breaking her brain. I don't necessarily want to take credit for that, but I do know with absolute certainty I live rent-free in her head. And I think one of the reasons I came out of the gates punching so hard this time is because I spent 12 months of my life running against that woman. And she is an embarrassment to the low country of South Carolina. We certainly deserve better. I am fearful that she will be their candidate for the governor's race in 2026. She's not a serious person. She only cares about herself. And the behavior I see out of her is deeply concerning.
Do you know how low the bar is to be more embarrassing than Mark Sanford? I mean, when you think about it, she figured it out.
She sure did.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you, but her brain is all the way broken. There's something seriously wrong with that woman. And it's gonna be hard to run for governor if you can't get people to work for you on your campaign or in the office. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Lindsey Graham's the important thing. So, best of luck in your race. Where can people find out more about your campaign if they're
Thank you so much. Yes, they need to go to drannieandrews.com to learn more about my candidacy, sign up to be on our volunteer list, make a donation. You don't have to be a South Carolinian to invest in this race, and imagine how great it will feel on election night if a Democrat wins statewide in South Carolina and sends Lindsey Graham home.
Agreed. Dr. Andrews, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking time out to join us.
Thank you.